Hi, everyone, and good morning. So, welcome to the webinar. Our webinar is titled as Experience the Power of AI in Sales Training. It's led by Austin. Good morning, Austin.
Good morning,
And
Somnath.
he is the Director of Learning Technology at Infopro Learning. I am Somnath, the moderator of this webinar. In this webinar, we are going to learn about how AI can accelerate learning, drive consistency, and improve sales outcomes in your organization as well. Over to you, Austin.
Awesome. Thank you, Somnath. I'm going to share my screen. I want to do, Somnath, if you could just give me the thumbs up since you're the only person I can see right now that you can see it.
Yes, yes.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining. We're excited to take you through the webinar today. As Somnath had said, AI in sales training. I see some people are still trickling in, so I'll give a minute or two before we dive in, but very excited to take everyone through today, talk a little bit about just where we see AI in sales training, and then the tool that we've developed here at Infopro that's kind of like taking us along that journey and that we're continuing to develop today as we're seeing AI get better, as we're seeing organizations start to leverage the tool in different ways. You know, it's been really exciting for us the past few months, just this journey with AI. I know this um, webinar is a follow-up to a series that Somnath had done on enabling sales excellency amid uncertainty, right? And we had a great webinar a couple weeks back or a month or so back on that. And we wanted to, AI is kind of, again, helping us deliver this excellency now as we're seeing it leveraged more and more. So, all right. It looks like we're starting to get some people trickling in. I'm going to go ahead and get started for sake of time. If you're just joining in now, you haven't missed much, but there will also be a recording of today. So if you have to jump out early, if someone calls you and you have to pick up a call halfway through, don't worry, we'll be sending all of that out so you didn't miss anything. So I'm going to get started. First off, my name's Austin Smith. I work as head of our learning technology here at Infopro Learning. I have for the past 10 years, or going on 10 years, I should say. All of it with all of our learning tech, everything from our learning management system to our LXP to now Guru, our AI tool that we're here to talk about today. I work out of our Seattle office. So good morning if you're West Coaster or a Midwesterner, almost afternoon to you East Coasters, and then if you're joining from somewhere else, good evening potentially. So excited to have you all. All right. So first and foremost, kind of there's a revolution, an AI revolution going on across all industries, but sales being a massive part of it, right? Every organization that is selling is using AI or starting to incorporate AI into that sales cycle to help speed up, to help them get to critical mass faster, to help them analyze all different data points, understand what their customers need. And we really think, it is the perfect time for us to pick up where sales has started to implement AI, but start to leverage it more in our enablement and our training process. Again, here at Infopro, we do a ton in learning and training and working with clients. We understand some of the challenges that they're seeing just in general, traditional training programs, right? And how we're leveraging AI in those. But as we developed our Guru platform and we started leveraging it here internally, what we really found the value of was being able to deploy this into our sales teams to get them information quicker, to get them responses back to things without having to wait that, even if it's a 10, 15-minute gap, sometimes that can be what we're working in between meetings, right? As sales organizations. So to get them responses faster. So that is like where we first really started to like jump into, well, how can we enable our sales team with AI? And what it's turned into down our experimenting with that is, really kind of an AI powered transformation in how we're doing our enablement. So, first and foremost, from a traditional training landscape, when we're talking about sales training, oftentimes if we're talking about like the soft skills of sales training, a lot of our programs are one size fits all, right? We have to build a methodology for the organization, not necessarily for that specific rep, because we're bringing in reps that have all different types of background, whether they've come up through the ranks internally, whether we went and hired, or they came over from a competitor. One-size training programs, really can cause some friction, right, when we're working with people with different levels of experience. Another element of that is just scheduled session times is times you cannot sell, right? And then the follow-up to that is we're spending all of that time together in scheduled sessions, which is great. But when we're interrupting that selling time, we need to make sure the ROI of walking away with that training is sticking with us, right? So having knowledge decay, within 30 days of just learning or going over the session that we went, or inconsistent reinforcement because teams are pulled and working on a bunch of different things, causes a lot of challenges and ends up not really realizing or maximizing the ROI of what that program would have been had we been able to support it. Now, with AI, we're kind of able to flip that over, right? With our tool here that we'll get into and talk, the ins and outs. We've been able to really hyper-personalize those learning paths to understand who that learner is, what experience they're bringing with them, what training they've done in the past, and how we can best support them. Provide that coaching element that you get when you're sitting in there with an instructor, but all the time through coaching-based agents that have specific knowledge and understanding of our product, our procedure, and our processes. And be able to take all of that information and drive continued reinforcement and improvement, because we're able to serve those nuggets up of understanding at any point in time, right? And in the work that we've done with our clients so far, we've seen that reps like that just-in-time training feel, right? Where they can go get it at any point in time. They can go, like searching the SharePoint site, right, to be able to go get a nugget to take with them into that next call, or get feedback on a call that they just had immediately. So what does this look like, right? Well, with the ability for AI to consume as much information as it can, loading all of our training and all of our enablement into one single platform has given us the ability to really fine-tune our learning paths, right? And as most organizations are making a shift to skills-based hiring and training, this allows us to track and assess the skills of our sales team in real time, be able to make adjustments, not necessarily to our training curriculum, but make adjustments to how we're giving feedback and the information we're giving to this individual quicker, without having to have any sort of interaction in between, or send stuff to a manager that then has to go through red tape or processes to get back to that learner. And also be able to really crank up the difficulty of certain things like role plays as that person demonstrates mastery of those skills, right? Which we see in, again, traditional training. Sometimes we have reps or learners who are picking concepts up faster. And so leveraging AI, we can continue to challenge these learners if they've mastered the basic skills that we're covering in the beginning, and they're just waiting to catch up with the curriculum, or whether it's just cranking up the difficulty on assessments and saying, hey, give me this type of customer now, right, to handle that. Also, with those adaptive learning path and all of that skill assessment, it allows us to really coach that individual, right? We can see where they're having success, where they're not having success. We can see in every scenario that they're sitting down with us in, and every training scenario we put out, where have they demonstrated great skills, or have they backslid in those certain skills, right? Since we're always able to assess on that. And then with the platform able to search all of our training documentation and all of our sales support material, it really helps us drive continuous reinforcement and improvement of not only the training, but also what we're doing here as an organization, our new product lines, right? How we need to make sure we're talking to a customer, what the voice of that customer is. So what are some of the ripple effects of this, right? And all positive ripple effects, really. With our platform, what we've seen so far in the use cases that we've deployed, we've seen revenue acceleration. So we're closing deals faster. We're able to win and qualify deals quicker. We're able to cut out some of the operational efficiency. So for like, if you're a sales leader, people love this. The tool cuts down on the, hey, where's the most recent MSA, right? Or where's the most recent, template for this? Because it automatically handles everything within there. We're able to follow and develop our skills, the skills of our reps faster, just because we're constantly able to understand and assess where they're at, because they're going to naturally be using the platform anyway. And then handling all of that knowledge management, whether it is our sales material, whether it is what top performers are doing and what their numbers look like, what their test scores are looking like, how they're growing from one session to another, or one enablement session to another, right? Really helps us not only understand where the tool is impacting the sales team, but also as we are continuing to develop our curriculum, where to expand in those areas, right? Or where to refocus our training. So all of that was some good kind of background in what we've been looking at and what we've been seeing and what we've really been trying to drive with the platform we've developed here at Infopro. So here is kind of the general breakdown, right? And we'll get into the actual tool. But Guru is the platform that we have developed, right? And what Guru is it is a AI coach, but we've developed a few different areas of it to help it be really a sales enablement tool, or dynamic sales support is what we call it here. First off, Guru has the ability to really quickly be able to serve up information to me as a salesperson based on what the request is, right? So if I come to Guru, and I'll show some use cases live in the system here in a second, but we have fast path mode. So if I come in and I'm saying, hey, I need this document, or hey, what's our competitive advantage over this competitor? It can really quickly just give me that nugget of information, whether I'm taking it into a call, whether I'm, preparing a proposal, whether I am just coming out of a sales training and I want to follow up on something that I learned in there. It can give me really quick nuggets of information and just direct me right where I need to go. Or that coaching mode, where it's going to take some time to assess and really help me dig into what I'm looking for from that perspective. So the example that we give here is, I need some help handling price objections, right? And Guru's coming back and saying, cool, tell me about the specific situation. What is the main concern? Where are you seeing this, right? Where it's going to gather a little bit more of that information. Now, the coolest part about this, though, because a lot of people look at this and say, well, I can ask, ChatGPT, or I can ask Claude, and I can get something similar to this. And absolutely. But where Guru really comes into play is, number one, all of the intent classification has been developed in here internally to be modular, sorry. Meaning we have developed all of these different prompts essentially for enabling the success of a salesperson, but we've left these elements of it open so we can plug in your methodology, your content, your processes, and your procedures, so the tool is giving specific feedback and support on how your organization operates, right? First, if we're going with the ChatGPT or Claude, it's going to be much more open-ended, right? They're pulling stuff from the web. It's trying to put stuff together based on what that learner is asking. And it's not necessarily from like a gated, subset of content, or you have it working in a gated subset of content, but you don't have the advanced prompting built out where it's coaching along your methodologies or being able to like score on your matrices. And the cool part about that is in the back end of all of Guru is this recursive orchestration engine that we've developed that essentially starts out in analyzing that conversation and where we need to support this learner, whether it's the fast track, whether it is a coaching conversation, whether it's simply serving up some documentation. And it's able to activate those modules or those prompts dynamically as the conversation is going to be able to question this learner to get them additional information, right? Where it can come back and say, okay, you're asking for sales prep. Well, who are you meeting with? What level call is this? Have we met with them before? Have we worked with them before? To help extract that additional information to make sure we're getting the learner the best response we can. Then we're taking that and running it against our methodology check of your processes, your procedures, your policies for sales, and then scoring that before we serve up our response, right? And so it's a cycle to make sure we're getting the learner the best response at any point in time. And so now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull up my Guru and kind of show you a little bit what that actually looks like. So first and foremost, what you're seeing here is me going directly to Guru's site. Now, the tool can be integrated to sit over top of pretty much any tool or application. So we've integrated this over learning management systems. We've integrated this over intranets. We've had this been like just a button on a site where someone can click on it and it'll jump out. So we can really make this live wherever you want. We're also currently working on developing integrations, deep integrations into Microsoft Teams and Slack. So you can actually have your Guru conversations directly from the tools that your team is using all the time. But what I wanted to showcase here, first and foremost, when I jump into Guru, not only do I have the general question blurb that I can fill out, right, or type whatever my whatever I'm looking for, but we have some of these what we call breadcrumbs, right, built directly into the tool. And these breadcrumbs we set up with you when we implement the system. And the reason these are important is we know with sales team and leveraging tools, they're only going to make advantage of the tools that they see immediate value in, right? Because they are the worst examples of time is money, right? And in a good way, that's what we love out of our sales team. But with these breadcrumbs, we're able to really quickly show some of the areas that they can leverage the tool, where they can quickly jump in, quickly get what they need out of it, and they don't necessarily have to come ready with a question, right? This is also great for when we're incorporating this into learning journeys. We've had working with a lot of organizations when doing their sales training where we're incorporating Guru as, part of their process. So, they'll be going through training. Hey, you're going to prep for this call. You're going to go to Guru and you're going to prep for this call, right? You're going to push call prep. It's going to walk you through the process. So this is a great way where you can immediately have those buttons. They don't have to think of anything. There's no analysis paralysis of, okay, what can I ask now that I have the world at my fingertips? And they can really quickly get in and start to get feedback. Now, you'll also see, I switched my screen here a little bit. We have a little bit more breadcrumbs here, but there's a huge knowledge repository that's living in the back end of this Guru instance here. And this is all of our sales training and enablement material here at Infopro, right? This is what we've set up here internally. And so as I'm asking questions, not only is the system working from the prompts that we've developed and fine-tuned, but it's also pulling bits and pieces of information from all of these documents. And it's not picky about what these documents are, right? This could be, we could have recorded sales calls in here. We have a bunch of PDF documents in here on, every sales deck that we've ever done. We have links to our website so it can pull information off that. We have pricing sheets. Everything can live in this tool and can be a resource that Guru can direct a salesperson to. Hey, where's our most recent pricing sheet? But it can also pull information directly from it. So when it is coaching or when it is helping prep for something, it has all of the most recent information that it's searching through. Now, I have a few different examples of what that looks like in here. First and foremost, let me scroll up here. I clicked on it, one of those breadcrumbs for sales call preparation, right? This is one thing we find that sales meetings where the sales rep comes in well prepared, understanding the client, understanding the business, right? Even if they don't know what the challenge is just yet, are much more successful, right? Because that client can see we've done the work. Leveraging this in Guru, all we have to do is feed in the information that we already have, and Guru helps us do that work, right? So we can cut down the 10, 15 minutes that we would spend in sales prep before and make it 5 minutes basically of reviewing what Guru's given me, and then maybe checking out like a LinkedIn or even pulling that directly into here, right? So I said, hey, preparing for a sales call. It asked me for a little bit more information. So, hey, who are you meeting with? What meeting is this? What are they interested in talking about? And I gave it some information here, right? They're interested in talking about Guru, their VP of sales in a pharma company. And so what Guru is going to do, leveraging the information that we've loaded of our own sales process here at Infopro, is break down, okay, well, here's some of the things that you need to consider in prepping for your call with Sam, right? And then even putting together some core features and benefits of Guru for a VP of sales, right? So it's able to not only say, hey, here's what you would talk about with this specific product line or with this specific service, but for this specific buyer. So it's able to really quickly get me down to what I should be talking about specific to this individual, not just generic information. Now, you'll see some of the questions that it's asking back, like this one, what's the purpose of the call? Do you know their challenges? All of this verbiage and wording that we leverage here gets tied back to, your sales process. So here at Infopro, we use CHAMP as our qualification method. And so, it's going to use challenge, authority, money, priority, right? Throughout the conversation that you're seeing here. If you use the different qualification method or if you use the different sales method, it is going to incorporate all of that into, what it's delivering this final learner or this final response. So it's able to give me a really comprehensive breakdown. And now I can sit down in here and I can say, okay, what are some of the common challenges a VP of sales would be facing, right? Just so I can have those at my fingertips if I hear that on the call. What are they looking to do? What are some of the questions? Oh, they mentioned this on the call. What are some of the questions I can do to dig specifically into what they mentioned, or they had mentioned this in an email? So it can actually help me prepare questions specific for that. It's really just, my little sales partner here, my little sales manager here, helping me prep for a call when my sales manager can't prep for a call, right? So that's kind of the first element where we've seen like a lot of value, sales call prep, cutting down the time, but being able to provide really high quality preparation for that. The other piece, and we won't spend too much time here because everyone does have a different qualification method, but in helping a salesperson qualify a deal, right? I clicked on CHAMP opportunity qualification as one of the breadcrumbs here. It's asking me, okay, cool, let me help you qualify a deal. Who are you talking to? What are their challenges? What's their process so far? But I kind of like bypassed that and said, I just need some questions to help identify challenge, right? I need more of those in my back pocket because not everyone can I fit into every call, right? And so what Guru served up to me was, yeah, here, let me give you some different scenarios in which you would ask this challenge question. Whether it is, hey, what current state are we operating in? We've identified the problem, or we haven't identified the problem, but we know that there's some pain point there. How are we delivering impact? How are we coming up with understanding urgency of this challenge? Basically just helping develop questions that are going to push the line of questioning through the qualification process instead of trying to go like one off. Oftentimes we see the salesperson's like, oh, I know I need to get challenge out of that. But I don't have any clever way to ask challenge, or I don't have a clever way to understand what the budget is here. So we end up with this like real awkward at the end of the call saying, so what's your budget, right, for a program like this? So this can help us be much more intentional with our question asking. And again, make sure that we're focusing much more on how your organization wants the questions asked. Now, we have a few other scenarios here. One thing that I've found, though, to be the most impactful with the sales organizations we've been working with so far is sales scenarios. And the reason that sales scenarios have been so impactful is in Guru, we can upload your rubric of how you'd score a call. We can have Guru put together different like personality types or different types of customers. So we can set up a scenario. Hey, give me a scenario with like a VP, who's tough, not like super responsive, kind of just sitting back, like letting the meeting happen. We want someone who's a little defensive or a little on guard. We want someone who's like very open and sharing a lot of information. So we can craft these super specific scenarios, have our salesperson run through that scenario in a mock environment, right, that they would typically do in, an instructor-led session or with their peers. So give them that same environment that they have where it's risk-free and failure isn't costing us anything, so to speak. And then giving them the opportunity to run that simulation as many times as they need until they perfect it. And with each time they run that scenario, to be able to score them, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom, to score them on how they did in that scenario, and give them feedback on, hey, here's where you're strong, right? But here's some areas for improvement from that. So not only is it able to provide that coaching aspect, but on the back end of the system, because we are grading and we have that rubric in there, we're constantly assessing every time a rep runs through this, where their skills are at, where they're growing, where they were at last time, right? And we can have these scenarios prompted where Guru can prompt this person and say, hey, once a week we reach out and we say, hey, let's do a scenario, right? And it can randomly throw a scenario, it can randomly put together a scenario, or it can work from a list of scenarios that you might have. Hey, these are the type of people that we're trying to sell to. Here's what I want my sales team to be enabled to go have from a conversation standpoint, right? Now, the example that I have given here is more, so it gave me an example of Sarah, who's working in HR, and she's looking to scale up some of their learning and development. So I asked some questions around that. What you're looking at now is me typing all of these questions out. One thing that we have seen with these, and a lot of the sales organizations that we're working with love this, is sometimes the pressure of having to type this out isn't high enough, right? Because the person can I can think about my response. I can put some a little bit more thought into it than I typically would if I was on a call or face to face with this client, right? So what we have done here is we've actually done a VAPI integration, and I won't start it just because it's weird via Teams, but all of the conversations that you can have in Guru, you can also have on a phone call with Guru. Meaning when I run this scenario, if I'm scrambling trying to come up with an answer to a question that it asked me, or trying to come up with a good qualification to ask here, and it's not getting a response, it's going to put that pressure on me like a client would, right? Where it's saying, hey, are you there? Did I lose you? And being able to like put and simulate the little bit more high pressure environment than just the typical text conversation for the salesperson to give a much more realistic environment, right, that they have to operate in. Also, what we're building into that is that integration. We can start to understand tone in that rep's voice, and we can also have Guru give certain tones back, right? Whether we're being defensive, whether we're being short, right? Whether like the conversation shifted some way because of how I've asked the question. Now, oftentimes when I'm doing demos, I get this as a question as well. Is avatars, right? Hey, are you doing anything with doing like avatar or face-to-face type conversations? And that is something that we're looking to build out late Q4, early Q1 of next year, where you can actually have a face-to-face conversation, not just a phone conversation, but we can do things like understand body language and be able to like demonstrate some of those nonverbal cues in a sales simulation as well that you're not going to get via phone call or via text. Now, I have a couple more examples here. Again, just trying to showcase the tool can do a lot, right? And I think a valuable sales training tool is going to be a tool that doesn't have one specific use to it, right? So, where the most value might come from those sales scenarios and being able to constantly assess and track skills, being able to do these ancillary things like help prepare for a call, give me some examples, like some case study. Here's my question here. Give me some examples of work we've done in healthcare, pharma for me to take into a call, right? To do some of that like nugget gathering before call is really, really important. And again, adds value to the tool. So your team will continue to leverage it for hopefully everything. Even things like, hey, I need a value prop for this type of person, right? Whether I'm putting together a document to share to them or I want to physically take that into a meeting with me. This becomes a tool that they're just going to be leveraging in their day-to-day. It's as good as not as good as I should say, but it's like having a separate sales manager in your pocket that you can pull up. You can type something in, you can ask it a question at any point in time, and it's going to give you a good response immediately, right? We're not waiting for an email back, we're not waiting for a Teams message back. We're quickly able to get exactly what we need, whether it is information on a product or a document that I need someone to fill out, right? Like we talked about MSAs or NDAs, right? Earlier in. So being able to simply like serve up content as well. Okay, I know I've done a lot of talking with webinars. I tend to do that. But is there any questions really quick before I navigate from the tool itself and we get back into the slides? And I think Somnath is handling some questions. So yeah, if anyone wants to see anything, we do have a few minutes here where we can kind of navigate into something else, or if you have a specific question or use case you want to see.
No questions yet, Austin.
Okay, cool. And if you're typing out your question, no worries. And if you have questions following the session, feel free to reach out. Somnath had put in the email there. One thing I will say where we've seen a lot of success with just seeing how if Guru can help your organization is we've been doing like mini pilots. So essentially what we'll do is we'll take some of your training materials, some of your documentation, some of your scenarios, whatever you want, and we'll put together basically like a mini agent in Guru for you to see how it would operate from like leveraging your material. And this is something that we can do really, really quickly. Usually we can like set these up in a day or two and say, hey, immediately without like any fine tuning of the prompts, here's the value you could get out of this by just uploading your documentation. And then once we start to show you what we can do when we're fine tuning those prompts, that's where that additional ROI of, we could leverage this, for every time we roll out a new product. We could leverage this for every time, we want to go test the skills of our sale, whatever. It can really, like we've seen every time we've rolled it out, there have been tremendous value to the client to see not only what it can do immediately, but then sit down and say, as we fine tune these things, here's other ways you could leverage it that you might not have thought of before. Another question before I totally navigate away here, just because some organizations are working with specific AI tools, or they're a Microsoft shop. Guru is integrated with all the common LLMs. And the cool element about this is, let's say you're using Microsoft and you want to use GPT for everything. You can have all of your responses generated out of GPT. So you're having it be consistent for whatever you're using. But what we've seen, more importantly, is every LLM kind of has what it's good at and what it's not good at in terms of Gen AI, like writing responses or providing responses. Right? GPT is great at just being like straightforward, cut and dry, where Claude might give me like a little bit more language in its feedback, so there's more for me to operate off of. Now, in our prompting, we have the ability to like set what LLM we want to pull from. So for instance, if I was trying to write a sales email, here internally, we would use Claude for that just because we like its writing capability better. So you can actually we work with you in fine tuning, hey, what response is going to be best, and leveraging what system is going to give us the best response, or what LLM is going to give us the best response. Or give that flexibility to the learner to say, hey, I just did a sales scenario leveraging GPT, and it's following the same rubric, but because that the Gen AI or the AI is just operating a little bit differently in its back-end methodology, you might like one experience, or how one writes better than the other. Okay. So navigating back to, what could this look like for you implementing a Guru? It's really not as difficult as it may sound to roll out a tool like this. Oftentimes clients are asking themselves, what do I have to do to get ready to deploy something like this? And there really isn't a bunch you have to get ready to do, right? Guru is operating from whatever documentation that you have as its knowledge base, right? So whether it's sales decks, whether it's videos of calls that you've had, whether it is, existing training material in whatever format that you have, right? It can intake all of that and directly start to work from all of that. Also, when we're adjusting the prompts, we're really just taking your methodologies and your processes and plugging it directly into that, right? So what question methodology do we use to qualify? That's something that we're really quickly able to just plug in to Guru. And it's not something that has to be out there as like a standard, right? So like we use Champ, which is really common, but if your organization has a super specific methodology that you had developed in-house that is unique only to you, again, we have the flexibility in the prompting to match Guru to make sure that we're walking those lines that you've set up, right? So you don't have to have too much ready to go. The first couple weeks is just that knowledge integration. So taking all of the material, getting it uploaded into the system, making sure we're understanding your methodology, your the positioning of your product, the voice of the customer, and building that knowledge base. The next element behind that is that pilot phase. So we typically roll it out with a small subset of the sales team and sales management to make sure that the responses that we're getting out of Guru is the same quality that we would want. Guru also learns with the conversations that are happening in it. So it's getting, we're giving it certain feedback and responses in this champion testing phase. So it knows how to handle certain questions better. We're also running AI on those breadcrumbs and understanding what breadcrumbs learners are interacting with the most, what breadcrumbs, we're not seeing a lot of engagement in, and then also what additional breadcrumbs we might want to add to that list based on those entry-level comments that we're getting, or those just open-ended questions that we're getting asked within Guru. The third step to that is really expanding that out to the rest of the team, right? So making sure it's integrated with the CRM, it's integrated wherever we want it to live. It's pulling in that sales information, or it's pulling in, sales numbers information, so it can do some additional directing from that or help drive deals to close. And then because it is AI and it's continuously learning and advancing, you know, step 4 is really just the continuous improvement and enhancement of the tool, right? Adding additional material as it comes in, cleaning out old material as it's like we're not pulling from it anymore because we're not getting that response. Being able to flag questions that we didn't have a high level of confidence in to get SME expertise and feedback on so the system can learn next time. And then really the long-term adjustment of those breadcrumbs. So the system is always cutting edge from the, hey, what can it provide the salesperson perspective, right? As long as those breadcrumbs are constantly changing and showing, whether it's the same 4 that everyone always engages with, and we just show that those 4, or we're constantly rotating, right? The hot topics, or, marketing does a push on this product, so that product floats to the top as one of those breadcrumbs. Providing a lot of flexibility with that. Now, once you have that rolled out, we've seen from the quick wins, number 1, having all of your sales resources at your fingertips in a searchable, smart database is like huge. Everyone sees value in that almost immediately, not having to navigate SharePoint or navigate like a folder system that's really well laid out, but it still requires that I click 8 times to find what I'm looking for. We're able to coach our sales team to handle objections or areas where they're struggling with a lot quicker, onboard new reps faster because they have a one single place that they go to for literally every question that they have. And then for sales managers, right, those like shoulder tap interruptions of, hey, or Teams pings, I'm looking for this. Hey, I know you sent out a message about us that, where can I find this document? Or, hey, what should we do if a client says this on a call, right? So immediately giving a ton of time back, right? Whether it's to the reps, whether it's to management, or to HR, right? And getting someone up to speed a little bit faster. And then the long-term side effects of something like this, obviously being able to track skill improvement from when Guru was rolled out and we did like the first entry-level assessments to 3, 6, 9, however often we're checking in growth along the sales team, and having a way to track growth outside of just sales numbers as well, right? Sales numbers are a great lagging indicator, but sometimes if our the industry we're selling in is like super, super complex and it takes 9 months or 8 months for us to get a sales rep up to speed, we might not have good sales numbers till a year down the road, right? So we need to be able to see growth somehow and be able to understand if this person is getting it. Win more deals, increase deal size because we can qualify them better, and we can close them faster. We have more product knowledge at our fingertips, so we can create and weave together more solution sales, if that's how your organization operates, and it's how many product lines can we tie into this, or can we tie together to help provide the best solution to the client, and then be able to provide predictive analytics, so where we need to go next or how we need to support this person next as well, just like a sales coach or a sales manager would, but you have the system kind of backing you up in that. So to kind of wrap up our session for today before we open it up for questions, AI really is a competitive advantage. And I think, for everyone that had signed up for this call and is here today, I think you understand that, right? Which is why you're here. Really, with AI, with where it's at right now, there is obviously still some like timidness in implementing the tools, whether it's IT, worried about data privacy and security, whether it is, what tool we want to leverage internally, or we're using, Copilot Studios already. So, and we need to figure out how to deploy that. If you're in any one of those boats and you liked what you saw today, again, reach out. We're more than happy to set up that demo, or even, if you're using Copilot Studios, how can we take some of this prompting that we've developed here and implement it into your Copilot Studios? Because everything's kind of laid out and we have it all ready to go. But this is a great way for you to really start to accelerate and catch up to some companies that might have already started leveraging AI and have been pulling themselves away. Or if you're like leading edge in your industry, for you to be the person to start accelerating away from everybody else from a sales perspective. To help support your buyers and your clients by providing a better sales team, right? Better salespeople are usually ones that serve our clients better. And so this gives us the ability to better serve them because we have more information at our fingertips. We can be a lot quicker with things. We can be a lot more precise with things. And then have the insight. A lot of us might have it in AI in our Salesforce or in our HubSpot, right? That's giving us some data. Now, how can we tie that sales data back to our people data to give us like a real advantage into where we need to direct our sales team or what a winning rep looks like? So again, thank you so much, everyone. Feel free to reach out if you want to see one of those specific demos. Want us to put together a specific sandbox for you. If you wanted to sit down and just go over, hey, here's where I'm at from, a training standpoint or from an AI standpoint, what would it look like to roll this out or how quickly could we roll something out? We're more than happy to do that. And even if you're just at the very beginning of, hey, someone said AI in a leadership meeting, so I've been doing a little bit of digging. We're more than happy to just help support you on where you're at, what a tool like this could cost if you're just trying to put together cost, or if you're just looking to get some additional information of tools out there in the market. We're more than happy to help support with that as well. But that being said, we will open it up to any questions that you have. Feel free to ask in chat.
I must say, Austin, the product is really good, and no questions up to now in the chat, as I can see. Any which ways, we should respect the time of each other, everyone's time as well. So, thank you, Austin, for your for leading this webinar and giving a fair bit of demo about our sales coach guru.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, everyone, and see you in the next webinar at Infopro Learning. Please take care.
Thank you, everybody.